Hello everyone, welcome to Talking Through the Medias. I'm your host today, Amy Newman. Don't worry, I haven't done anything to Chris. We are just having a ladies' night here at Talking Through the Medias. Chris wanted to hand over the reins so I could have a little discussion about something very near and dear to my heart, the Bechdel test. Now, if you don't know, quick Wikipedia synopsis here of the Bechdel test. Basically, it is a sort of a litmus test for gauging female representation in media. It is named after the cartoonist Alison Bechdel. If I have any musical theater nerds out there, Alison Bechdel also is the inspiration for the musical Fun Home. She did the graphic novel that Fun Home's based on, but I digress. Bechdel test comes in 3 parts. Part 1, is there more than one named female character in the media? Step 2, do those 2 female characters have a conversation? Step 3, is that conversation about something other than a man? So this might seem super basic. Basically, it is a litmus test just to start looking at, are we writing female characters who are not just existing in the work to further a man's storyline? You know, is it just the one woman who's there to be the love interest? It's acknowledging that women can and should be more than that in media. I've compiled my 10 favorite movies and TV show that crushed the best Bechdel test. And again, this is by no means an exhaustive list. Please make sure to let us know in the comments what movies and TV show would be on your Bechdel test crushing list. Or is there a movie or a TV show you really love that doesn't pass the Bechdel test that might still be awesome female representation? That also happens. Now, number 1, I went with Broad City. If you haven't watched it, if you're a comedy person, highly recommend it. Alana Glazer and Abby Jacobson, 2 very funny comedians, created this show and star in it. Super modern, super funny, very much in that vein of really proving that women can handle the sort of wacky, not quite wacky stoner comedy, but definitely that energy if you like that sort of thing. Super modern and fun. Definitely just a great show that reminds me of the way I talk with my girlfriends sometimes. It definitely reads as women writing women and just how odd and raunchy and silly we can be. Really nice to feel like we're breaking out of women are only allowed to say these things. No, women can be just as crude and crazy as the boys. Also executive produced by Amy Poehler, who we will see down the list. Wink, wink. My number 2 spot goes to a movie that came out a couple of years ago, The Favourite, with a U because it's British, The Favourite. Really great if you're into period pieces, royalty and all that good stuff. Highly recommend it, but absolutely knock it out of the park performances. Olivia Colman won the Oscar for this one. And I remember walking out of this movie and being so excited that I just watched women be monstrous for 2 hours in the most entertaining period piece, sort of manners and this veneer of high society all looped in there, but they're just monstrous. And it's so entertaining. All 3 of the leads are fantastic in it. Again, if you like sort of that Downton Abbey thing, but with a lot more of an edge, this is the movie for you. Number 3 on my list, a Netflix original. I feel like one of the OG Netflix originals, Orange is the New Black. Now, I'm not going to argue that this is a perfect show. To be totally blunt, I still need to catch up on the last season or 2. The writing can be a little soap opera-y. It's definitely got some flaws, but in terms of representation and representation of women in media, I think it's one of the best out there. One thing this show did, and if you're not familiar, it's about a woman who goes to a prison. It's based on a book by the same name. But what they did was they used Piper's story, the main character, who's this very sort of upper class, white, arrested on, I believe it's like some drug charges. And it's something that feels like, okay, this is a show you could sell because this is relatable. This is very safe. if we're doing a prison story, it's still a main character that's going to feel a little bit safer, a little bit upper class. Like I said, white, and people I think will be drawn to that from a selling point. Not that that's a more acceptable story, but just from a selling point, I think it made it easier for them to sell this show. And quite frankly, Piper's the least interesting character on the show. And what they did was they used that as the in to get people to start watching the show. And it's this huge cast of incredibly interesting, diverse, complex female characters who you might not always see. And it allowed them to have this through line to start talking about racial inequality and how hard it can be to break out of the prison system once you're sort of trapped in that cycle, and different women in there for all these different reasons. And so many incredibly good actresses have come out of this show. The writing can be a little melodramatic for my taste, but the performance is really grounded. So if you're looking for, especially right now, if you need a good time filler binge watch, there's several seasons. It is, like I said, some brilliant performances and can be incredibly moving. All right, number 4, we are, I guess, a throwback a little bit with a classic. Everybody loves it. Mean Girls is my number 4 spot. Such a funny movie. Be honest, you have quoted or heard it quoted sometime in the last 6 months. Undoubtedly, someone in your life has quoted Mean Girls. I love this movie because it's something that every woman I know has dealt with. The mean girls in high school, the in-clique, the cliques, the drama of trying to, I certainly in school had a long phase where I was trying to figure out how to get in the in crowd. And just seeing a movie that really tackles that and really digs into that. But one thing that is so important to me with the Bechdel test is when you have many, many female characters in something, one woman doesn't have to carry everything. So it doesn't matter that you have, Karen, who's the dumb one, because you have characters who are very smart, who are women. I feel like so often when you limit yourself to casting women in smaller numbers, you're doing yourself a disservice, because it's okay if we make this woman dumb, it looks like we're saying women are dumb. And you have to walk that tightrope. And I think Mean Girls is a great movie that really allows its female characters to be crappy to one another because you have so many women. And I think that's a running theme for all of these pieces of media, is you don't have to be perfect. They don't all have to be the sexually appealing one, the smart one, the one that represents what every woman should be, because you have multiple women and they can fill a whole lot of different roles. So that's a little tangent as to why I think the Bechdel test is so important. All right, number 5, we're going back to Netflix. Netflix killing it on this front, sometimes. Number 5 is Glow. I feel like this show is a little bit of an underrated gem. I feel like I talk to a lot of people who say they want to watch it, and I would highly, highly encourage. So it is about a women's wrestling show in the 80s based on the actual Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling show. Super fun, super throwbacky if you like sort of the Stranger Things 80s throwback. Netflix really has that market cornered right now. They're killing it. The costumes are fun. The humor's really on point. It makes me want to be a wrestler, even though I know I'd be terrible at it. But it's got this great empowering energy. And I loved hearing the women on the show talk about learning to wrestle for the show and how much that changed their perceptions of their own bodies. Of like, oh, this is my leg and it's strong and it can kick and it can do all these things. So definitely tying that in to a whole lot of different interesting issues. But it's one of those shows, for me at least, it's a total binge watch once I get started. It's so entertaining. It's so fun. The costumes are a blast. The writing's really sharp. I'll finish a season of that in 2 days whenever it comes out. My number 6 is Mad Max Fury Road. To me, this was maybe one of the first things I feel like really brought the Bechdel test to my awareness and really hammered home that sense of like how empowering it can be to have a lot of women on screen, and a lot of women on screen in a genre where we usually don't get a lot of women. You know, your action movies, sometimes you'll get the one badass chick, right? And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not trying to talk down on those movies at all. But again, when you have Furiosa and she's kicking ass, you can then have the wives. And you have this whole other interesting layer. And as a woman, I'm not watching this going, well, the only women on screen are like what I would be doing, you know? And some of them do step up and kick ass, but some of them are going, this is scary, this is a lot. I'm not a fighter, I'm not a warrior. So not every woman has to be a warrior when you have more than one woman. Also, shout out to this movie, the group of older women that they come across. As a woman in the industry, it can be really disheartening to feel like my clock is ticking on when people are going to even be willing to watch me on screen. And I know a lot of women I know in this industry feel very similarly. So seeing not just older, but genuinely like a whole span of women of ages, of looks, of types was really empowering. And I just remember walking out of that movie and getting in my car and being like, I should not be driving right now, and hitting the residential streets at about 80 because I was revved up. Number 7, you know I'm going to throw some Pixar in there. You know it. I did the Onward review. I will work Pixar into every conversation. It is not Good Dinosaur. Shockingly, Pixar's masterpiece. No, my number 7 spot goes to Brave. I wanted to put Brave on this list because I do love Pixar. And Pixar has a long way to go with their female representation. My favorite Pixar movie, Ratatouille, could not be on this list. There's one female character in that entire movie. And Pixar can be a bit of a boys' club. That can be something they've sort of dealt with in the past, but I think Brave was a really strong effort to move past that. It's always so cool to see stories. You want to talk about a story where the woman does not exist just to be the love interest. That's kind of the whole point of this movie, that she's not here just to get married. She's young and she's not interested in that. And after a childhood of growing up on Disney movies, where even if your badass princess is your main character, you know she's going to marry the prince at the end. There's nothing wrong with that. But for women where maybe that's not their goal, or young girls going, I'm not there yet. I love seeing a movie where it's about she's powerful, she's good enough to run this. And the focus of the movie, the relationship behind that movie, is really the mother-daughter relationship, which I also feel like such a formative relationship, something a lot of young girls go through, of the struggles of clashing with your mother. And it's such an important bond. And I loved seeing a movie that really focused around that and didn't take the switch of, and then here's the boy to save the day. Number 8, yet again on the Netflix, Unbreakable, Kimmy, Schmidt. Also double on the Tina Fey. I believe she produced this one and wrote Mean Girls, so shout out to Tina Fey. Unbreakable, Kimmy, Schmidt. Super funny show, starring Ellie Kemper, and a fantastic performance as a woman who was kept in an underground cult, basically held hostage, and was freed from this group and is now just learning to exist as an adult in the universe. Super wacky, super off the wall. All the side characters are hysterical. But a really good example again of just letting women be funny and weird, and it does deal with boy drama, but it deals with so much outside of that. And I love that sort of the core focus of the show, for all the different women on the show, if that's Kimmy coming out as Bunker, there's the woman she gets to know, I believe starts working for, who's sort of in this unhappy marriage, the landlord's this great character, but all of it's just females are strong as hell is sort of the chorus of the theme song, and I think that's just such a it's a wacky show, but that's sort of the underlying core of it, of women go through hell and just keep moving in ways that I think the world ignores a lot of times. So for as much as it's a silly show and a very, very funny show, it is also a show about just the underlying strength of women to persevere and to bounce back and to get through hell and keep moving. Number 9, another Netflix. I wanted to put this on here because I've heard a couple people talk about it, but I feel like it's a real hidden gem on Netflix, and I wanted to, spread the word if I could. Derry Girls, that's Derry, like Derry, Ireland. Super fun coming of age show about a group of young girls and one boy, but he's an honorary Derry girl, growing up in Derry, Ireland, in Northern Ireland in the 1990s, so at the very tail end of the Troubles. So super interesting historical backdrop, but a really funny show. And again, just a fun when you got a squad of girls. They can all be really different. All the performances are hysterical and really fresh and really funny. I will admit I had to watch this one with subtitles because their accents are gorgeous and I love them, and a little hard to understand, and they talk very, very fast. So if that throws you, just put the subtitles on and keep pushing. But again, just I'm a sucker for a good coming of age show. I'm a sucker for a good girl squad. And I think this is just a really funny, underrated little gem. And my number 10 spot, and these are in no particular order. I don't know if I said that. No particular order. But it's going to go, we're throwing it back, all the way back to Amy Poehler for a little Parks and Rec. I'm sure most people have seen or at least heard of this show. A lot of big names on this show, coming out of this show. Definitely one of my feel-good shows. This show passes the Bechdel test. I have to assume every episode, if not, then darn close. It's such a strong ensemble cast that's really bolstered by these awesome, awesome female characters. And again, just a wonderful example of if you have a lot of women, they can all be really different and flawed and interesting. And I really love that about this show. I think this show just has such a good heart, such a love of female friendships. I think the Anne Leslie friendship is really a core heart of this show. But all the women are so funny and get to shine. Aubrey Plaza is so bizarre and hysterical, and Retta as Donna, I think, is a really underrated, sort of just great empowered character. And Leslie as the star of the show, just this great, brilliant and flawed and hysterical leading lady, bolstered by this awesome cast of women. And the show gets a special shout out for giving us Galentine's Day, which I do celebrate every year to honor my beautiful female friendships. So that is my top 10 Bechdel test breaking media. So let me know what you think. Like I said, if I missed one, if there's one that you would put on your list, let me know. If there's something, like I said, that you think is a great example that maybe doesn't pass the Bechdel test. Do you know of another test that's maybe a better example? Let me know in the comments below. I love discussing this kind of stuff. I could do it all day. You know the drill. Like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe out there. Have a good one.